Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, coming at you live to talk about episode 2 of the anime series Shokugeki no Soma, San no Sara, or the Third Plate. And I gotta say, from right out of the gate, I absolutely loved that Megumi stepped up to the plate to help Soma in this effort. This sort of like outlandish idea he has to try to go up against Kuga and learning sort of on the fly all about the Sichuan spices and everything like that, and seeing by the end of the episode that he's just kind of got like a lunch cart. And Kuga's got this whole gigantic, like booth of his own. It's like a proper restaurant practically, with his army all inside, making dishes like clockwork, like machinery and such like that. And so I mean it really has me fearful for Soma getting out of this, getting through this, winning the day, that kind of thing, even though we kind of are left with the hopeful estimation of the two women who come up to his booth after the end of credits, and they love the black pepper bun, which is what he's decided to make. He goes ahead and he tries out the spiciness of the food. He tries to just, lop as much spice in to various dishes, really. And this comes on the coattails. It's kind of like everybody is being that much more supportive of Soma than they have ever been before. Not only Megumi, but I mean Nakumi as well. He ends up, she tells him, well, I would actually like to have helped you, but I got all these underclassmen who are coming, being part of my posse now and everything, and whatever, my RS. And so I thought it was absolutely hilarious, that. But then you actually have Alice and Arena being willing to be like the taste testers of his dishes and everything. And then he and Megumi afterward, after they give them sort of advice, telltale advice, leading them down this path of rationalization of how they're going to approach going against Kuga, and what his backlog of his speciality is, all of the spices and everything like that. And then the fact that he makes the umami, by hand. It's kind of like his own perfected mastery of a recipe and all this kind of stuff. So, Soma's very much deliberating how to equal that all out. The spice versus the umami versus the flavor. And he kind of realizes he's out of his element. If he goes up against Kuga making a similar kind of dish to what Kuga is probably likeliest to make, forget it. Why even bother stepping to the table, doing it that way? And so he settles on, like I say, the black pepper bun, and that's intriguing to me. I am somebody who cannot palate spices too much. Like, a spicy chicken sandwich from Wendy's or something like that, or your local 7-Eleven is about the tops for me. Personally, I'm not too into the spices. I don't eat peppers. I don't, I probably wouldn't go anywhere near a black pepper bun, let alone all the Sichuan dishes that, someone was testing out. And both he and Megumi ended up with like these giant swollen lips as a result. And I can't even imagine what Kuga has probably up his arsenal, being that much more of a master classman with this particular genre of dishes, the culinary arts. Those spices and hailing from that, being able to command and conquer over that. So I mean, it's just kind of like, I'm really just hopeful Soma is going to have this in the bag somehow. I can't even begin to imagine how that's going to work out, but I hope it does work out for him. And I thought it was interesting. They have this hilarious sequence toward the end of the episode where the school, Totsuki Academy, has an anthem. Everybody but Soma knows this anthem. But what I thought was interesting is they cut over to Kuga and Tsukasa, the sort of gray-haired cat that, at least according to the OP, seems to suggest that he and Soma will go up against each other before this season is out. And I don't know, that's just speculation. I don't know for sure. But it seems like they're purposely putting that in there for that to be a directive, for that to be something, to speculate and to expect that somewhere down the line, it's going to be all about Soma and Tsukasa going up against each other. And I have already sort of talked about, well, Tsukasa, he kind of seems a little wormy, a little squirrely, so that's going to prove to be interesting if that ends up happening, if they end up going up against each other. But at that point, Kuga is like, looking at Tsukasa sort of worried, I think, worriedly a little bit, concerned. And he says something about, you better sort of stay true to your promise, or I'm going to be expecting you to answer to your promise. Now, I don't know what exactly that might be, pointing toward. What promise was, spoken between them, but I immediately did start to speculate that perchance, maybe it's kind of like if something happens where Soma beats Kuga, if somehow Soma makes just a little more money, by the skin of his teeth, he manages to come out of this sort of adversarial, going up against each other in the Moon Festival, if he somehow is allowed to go up against Kuga for Shokugeki or something like that, or it might even be something beyond a Shokugeki, like if we get to that point where both, Soma and Kuga are going to go up against each other in a Shokugeki, if then Soma wins. I don't know how far along this is in the planning, but my speculation is that it's kind of like, if you go back to the movie Grease, where you had, Danny Zuko talking to his pal Kaneki, and Kaneki was going to race the car at the end of the movie, but he ended up getting, smacked on his head, so he couldn't drive, so he has his come up man is second, in Danny Zuko, take the ride for him kind of thing, drive the car for him, in other words. Is that kind of what's going on here between Kuga and Tsukasa, where Kuga's like, if anything happens, failing, I get an absolute win. If Soma completely blows us out of the water and he manages to take this somehow, whether that's in the Moon Festival, making enough money to warrant a Shokugeki, or getting as far as, having a Shokugeki going up against Kuga, Is Kuga looking at Tsukasa to intervene, or is he looking at him to be his second, or is he looking at him to be somebody who's going to, give Soma his comeuppance if he ends up beating out Kuga somehow? Like is Kuga looking to, Tsukasa to say, take him down. If anything happens and he beats me, go after him. Get revenge for me. I don't know if that's exactly what might be happening between the two of them, but that was my speculation point when they said that, when that verbal exchange happened between them, the idea of a promise existing between them. It could have absolutely nothing to do with Soma at all. It could be something else entirely, and I can't even fathom what that could be. But it felt very much on the nose that the whole purpose of this episode, the whole purpose of what Soma and Megumi and all of those surrounding characters in aiding them and assisting them, and what that all is about, is Soma's trying to go up against Kuga, trying to call him out on his turf with Chinese dishes, that culinary art, the art of the spice and everything like that. And so it's very much on the nose to me that that's what this is all about. That promise has something to do with this matchup to come. And maybe Kuga's just a little bit worried. Maybe he's much more bravado and a facade of being absolute and resolute, where he's doubtful. And he thinks, well, Soma has surprised everybody time and time again. He could surprise us again, and he might get a leg up on me. If he does, I'm looking to you, Tsukasa, to take his ass down. I don't know. But that was the impression I had. And overall, the episode, once again, the show always proves to be laugh out loud, hysterical, and there were several moments like that. The whole aspect of Alice going in and sort of schmoozing June to usurp Akira's, sort of booth in the Moon Festival, and going that much further to usurp what dishes they're gonna be serving and everything like that. And Akira's just losing his last nerve. Rio could care less. He absolutely doesn't have a care or concern in the world. But I thought that was hilarious. Here Akira thinks he's going to have a clean slate, a clean shot at doing whatever he wants to do. The scent, the aroma, all that stuff that are his expertise. And nope, Alice is coming and she's already schmoozed and bought the farm from June. So now he has to put up with that. I thought that was hilarious. And that was just, the whole episode, all told. It was entertaining as usual. It was laugh out loud funny as usual. And I'm really primped by the end of the episode, at the edge of my seat, with excitement to see whether or not Soma's going to clear this one. And, if so, how so? That kind of thing. And how much of a margin for error there might be where he could lose, Maybe he'll lose and like the head of Totsuki Academy, because in the OP we see him sort of bowing down before Soma. And I don't know if that's meant to be in honor of Soma's prowess, or because this guy sees Soma as being like maybe the potential replacement one day down the line, like, you know, marry Arena and then take over Totsuki Academy in my stead kind of thing. That's probably far, far off, if that's even remotely near the truth. But who knows? Maybe Soma will lose, and this guy will say, well, you know what? This kid has so much promise, we're not going to expel him. We're going to make an exception this time. I don't know. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of episode 2 of the third plate, Shokugeki no Soma, Food Wars, coming back with this third season. So glad the show is back. And this episode was awesome sauce. So yeah, otherwise that'll be pretty much it for me on this. If this video finds you well, I'll catch you all later. Peace.